In 1997, one film imagined a future so bold, colorful, and chaotic that even today it feels ahead of its time. The Fifth Element, directed by visionary filmmaker Luc Besson, wasn't just another sci-fi movie. It was a world packed with flying cars, towering megacities, alien civilizations, and outrageous futuristic designs. But most of what you see on screen wasn't fully CGI, because the late 90s. Computer graphics were still developing, so instead of relying only on digital effects, the filmmakers used massive practical sets, miniatures, animatronics, and mechanical rigs to bring this wild future to life. Let's go behind the scenes and see how this futuristic masterpiece was actually made. One of the most charming futuristic moments happens when Corbin Dallas is inside his tiny apartment. Suddenly, a flying Chinese food boat pulls up outside his window. A friendly chef steps out, unfolds a small serving table, and casually hands him hot food midair, as if this is everyday life in the future. For a film made in 1997, this scene predicted a world of airborne delivery systems, something that still feels futuristic even today. But how was it filmed? The entire sequence was shot in front of a green screen. However, the boat itself wasn't just digital. The production team built a physical version of the flying food boat and modified it specifically for the set. During the window interaction, the real prop was positioned outside the apartment set and filmed practically. When the chef flies away back into the city, the boat was mounted on a movable gimbal system. This allowed the crew to tilt and shift it realistically to simulate flight movement. The background remained entirely green so that later, the futuristic city skyline could be added digitally in post-production. The realism of the physical prop combined with digital city compositing is what makes the scene feel grounded and believable.
One of the standout sequences in the film is Corbin Dallas piloting his flying taxi through a bustling cityscape. To make this look believable, a full-scale model of the taxi was built and mounted on a gimbal rig inside the studio. This setup enabled the taxi to sway and tilt as if it were flying, all while being filmed against a green screen. But for interior shots, especially scenes with Leelu, the same life-size model was used. The production crew carefully synchronized the vehicle's movements with the scene's action, while the city skyline and flying traffic were later added in post. The realism of the set combined with the visual effects made this scene iconic. Ever wondered how the massive, futuristic city was created of The Fifth Element back in 1997? At the time, CGI was still in its early stages, so instead of relying entirely on digital effects, the team turned to miniature model making. Detailed physical models of skyscrapers, traffic lanes, and city blocks were built by hand and filmed with incredible precision. Behind-the-scenes photos show these intricate models, which were later enhanced with digital compositing. This clever blend of traditional craftsmanship and modern technology gave the film a timeless quality that still holds up today. Scene 4. One of the film's most thrilling moments is when Leelu escapes confinement and jumps from a skyscraper, eventually crashing through Corbin's taxi roof. To make this happen, the crew constructed a physical rooftop set, complete with ledges and surface panels. Actress Milla Jovovich stood atop this structure and jumped onto a safety pad surrounded by green screens. All the background elements, the depth of the city, other flying cars, and the skyline were added later in post. But because the performance and main set were physical, the entire sequence felt grounded, real, and incredibly intense. At the very start of the film, we see the Mondashawans, towering alien beings who come to Earth bearing the elemental stones and the mysterious fifth element. To bring these giant creatures on screen, the filmmaker, rather than relying on CGI, these aliens were brought to life through animatronic suits worn by real actors. Standing at nearly 7 to 8 feet tall, the suits were heavy, which naturally slowed down the actors' movements and gave the creatures a regal, deliberate presence. Their design was inspired by a mix of ancient Egyptian and futuristic styles.
One of the film's most
Inside
dramatic
the
moments
suits,
occurs when
remote-controlled
Leelu
mechanisms handled facial expressions and subtle head
jumps from a
movements,
skyscraper,
adding another layer
eventually
of
crashing
realism
into
to these
Corbin's
towering
taxi.
figures.
To create this illusion, the filmmakers first built a partial skyscraper
In a darker
set
turn,
inside
we
the
see
studio.
Gary Oldman's character Zorg
filmmakers
demonstrate the
performed
infamous
jump onto a thick
ZF-1
green
weapon,
safety
a
pad
multi-purpose
placed below
gun
to prevent
loaded
injury.
with futuristic tech.
Large green
The weapon
screens
shown on
surrounded
set
the
was
set
a real prop,
so that the futuristic
intricately
city
designed with
background
built-in
could be
lights
added
and
later.
sound effects.
The height,
For the moment where
falling motion,
bullets
and
curve
depth
mid-air
were
and
enhanced
strike a single
digitally in
target,
post-production.
VFX was used in
What appears
post
to
to
be a
amplify
dangerous
the action.
free-fall from
The prop
hundreds of
itself was
stories
functional
high
enough to let
was
Oldman act
actually
around
a
it with
carefully
realism,
choreographed
adding
stunt
authenticity to the
combined
scene.
with digital compositing.
Scene 7.
At the
The
beginning of the
Mangalores,
film, during the Egypt
fierce,
sequence,
beast-like
giant
mercenaries,
alien
are another
beings known
showcase
as
of
the
the
Mondo
film's
Shamans
brilliant practical
arrive in
effects.
an airship to
Instead of
protect the
digital
4
creatures,
elemental
the Mangalores
stones
were brought to
and the
life
fifth
using
element.
full-body latex
These towering
suits
aliens
and
were not
animatronic masks
CGI
worn by
creations.
actors.
Actors
These suits
wore
were
massive,
heavy and
full-body
limited movement,
animatronic
which
suits,
unintentionally gave
standing
the
nearly
aliens a
7 to 8
twitchy,
feet tall.
animalistic look
The suits
that
were
worked
heavy and
perfectly
mechanical,
for their role.
intentionally designed to limit movement.
As the film nears its
restriction gave the
climax, we
creatures
get
their
the
slow,
unforgettable opera
majestic,
performance by
almost
Diva
godlike
Laguna,
presence.
immediately
Their design
followed by an
blended
all-out
ancient
brawl
Egyptian
between
influences
Corbin and the
with
Mangalores
futuristic
in the
alien
theater.
features,
Much of
making
this
them feel
explosive
both
sequence was filmed with practical
and
effects,
extraterrestrial.
from real sets and
Inside
fire
each
to
suit was a
hand-to-hand
performer
combat
controlling
and
body
timed
movement,
explosions.
while the head mechanisms
Multiple
were
cameras
remote
captured the
controlled
scene
by
from
crew
different
members from
angles,
outside.
and everything from the
This
sound
allowed
design
subtle
to
facial
stunt
and mechanical
choreography was
motion
prepared in
without
advance.
digital animation.
Behind-the-scenes clips
In a
reveal the
memorable
sheer
scene,
scale of production
Jean-Baptiste
involved.
Emmanuel
The
Zorg,
smoke,
played by
lighting,
Willis,
and destruction all
demonstrates his
contributed to making this
futuristic
moment
ZF-1
one of the most
multifunctioning
iconic
weapons
sci-fi
in
action
Mangalore.
finales ever
The
put on
weapon
screen.
seen on
The Fifth
screen
Element
was a
is
highly
more than a
detailed
cult classic.
practical prop.
It's a
It
masterclass
included
in
built-in
visionary
light effects
filmmaking.
and interactive
Over 2
triggers
decades later, it
to make
still
feel
stands as a
functional
shining
during
example
filming.
of what happens
However,
when imagination
when
meets
Zorg
craftsmanship.
fires and the bullets
What are your
change
thoughts on
direction
how this movie
mid-air,
was made?
those effects
Let us know
were
in the
added
comments.
later using visual effects